Welcome back. Now, the festive season is associated with celebration and spending time with family and friends. But there's also a sinister element lurking in the shadows, it seems. Numerous children are subject to a term called parental alienation. It's when one parent influences a child to reject the other parent. Dani van Lochrenberg from the National Centre for Child Protection joins us now to discuss this and unpack. Good morning to you, Dani. Thank you very much for your time. I think let's start by unpacking what exactly this term means.
So this term means a rejection from a child towards one parent. So you'll have an alienating parent and an alienated parent. So that's a complete rejection of this one parent and normally their family as well. And now I must stress, that's from a healthy, loving parent-child relationship. So we're not including abusive relationships because that's rejection that makes sense.
So, you know, very often, or I'm assuming because I'm no expert, but can this sort of situation develop in a situation where the other parent is not cognitive that they are doing that and that this is their behavior, or is it a very intentional sort of action?
I think there's a combination. I think there will be parents that do this unintentionally, so they would say certain things in a moment or that they don't think, you know, what the consequences of what they've said would be. But it's more intentional because it's not a once-off situation. So it starts small and it starts building. Because eventually we speak about the erasure of a child's memory towards their happy, healthy relationship, and is being replaced by a narrative that is a grown-up narrative. So the child starts mimicking certain words, certain phrases that you would not put in a child's mouth.
Dani, give us practical examples of what this might look like in real terms in a family dynamic.
So we speak about a term called splitting. So you'll have that a child would feel that one parent is all good and one parent is all bad. So I love to use when I speak with groups, I love to use the movie director example. So this child is a lead actor in a movie, and they now have to do what the director says. And if they do that, they get a reward. If they don't, you hear the word cut, stop, don't like what you're doing, so don't do certain things. So in a real life dynamic, it looks like, but I had fun. How was your weekend with your mom? We had fun. Okay. Yeah, but you know, we did have a disagreement. Oh yeah, tell me about this disagreement. And the child acts to that positive, which the parent, and that's why I'm saying it's, you know, deliberate. That parent shows a certain reaction to certain ways of reacting. And then when you're happy, I'm unhappy. When you're unhappy, even if it's very small, I get a certain reaction. And the child wants that reaction because sometimes the parent that does that might have their own things going on, their own problems. It's not just a healthy parent that cuts off a child from the rest of their family.
Yeah. Dani, I can imagine that it must be a difficult dynamic to maneuver as a family, but if you are the parent that is, the child is being alienated from, what sort of steps can you take to sort of rectify the situation in an amicable, non-confrontational way that isn't going to cause more damage to that child?
So you said it so well, so non-confrontational. You might see what's going on, but the people around you will not see it yet. So if the picture is being created that you are aggressive, although you want to protect your child, that aggression will be then seen as you are aggressive, complimenting what the other parent has said about you. So what you need to do first is calm down. See it for what it is. Understand that...
Which is not always easy.
Definitely
when
not.
emotions are involved and people that you love and care about are involved, it's not easy.
I agree 100%. So you have to now calm down. Also realize that if your child shows their authentic self, they will be met with an aggressive psychological attack. So you can't expect that. So don't get upset because your child now rejects you. Calm down, start documenting everything. Start making sure that this is what happened, this is what happened. So when we then have to approach this, for example, take the matter to court, that we make sure that you realize there's as much more mental health related, and we'll need certain experts to assist with that, than it is just a legal matter.
Okay. Dani, it is the festive season. It's a time where normally families are expected to come together, to spend quality time together, to open gifts, to have Christmas lunch and Christmas dinner together. Not always the case. Do you see a spike in these sort of incidents, specifically around periods like Christmas and times when families are supposed to spend time?
Yes. So there's certain times that the alienating parent will definitely step up their game. So birthdays are one, and then the festive season being another one. Firstly, because at the festive season, the courts aren't as accessible as they normally are. So how would you get assistance? Your staff, in terms of your social workers that are available, they are also going on holiday because they need a well-deserved break. So your remedies to go and search for assistance become less, and that obviously makes you more frustrated. It's like mourning a person that is still alive.
While they're still alive, yeah. You speak about the courts and measures that people can take to find some sort of solution. At what point is it now time to involve the legal system? At what point is it not manageable one-on-one or the parents and the child anymore? At what point do you need to take a step further and involve the government?
Okay, so you're going to laugh now. Yesterday. So
yesterday.
as soon as possible, because alienation works best with time. So what will happen is a child will, because their memory is being erased, they will now start searching for positives. And every day another little part gets erased. And all of a sudden they'll create a time frame that's completely unrealistic. So now all of a sudden it's been a year, it's been 2 years. Because now you're not fighting about what's happened this week and all the actions that you could see.
Yeah.
Now they've created a time. And then when you create time, people would say things like, it's possible, because a lot of things can happen in a long time. And that's why you calm down, you go and look at the facts, you go and look at what was, and then you get somebody as soon as possible, because the sooner somebody intervenes, the sooner and the less damage is done to the child.
Yeah. You know, talking about intervention, I think very often families that are not in the nucleus family can see these sort of things happening, but they are hesitant to get involved because then they become the bad guy, they are overstepping, they are moving into territory that's none of their business. So as family, how do you navigate trying to assist when you see perhaps this happening with a sister-in-law or a brother or an aunt, an uncle? How do you step in and assist? Should you step in and assist?
100% you should, and as soon as possible. So And it's difficult for them. You said it so well. Because let's, for example, say your grandfather or grandmother. You actually still kind of think, okay, but I still want that relationship. So if I step up supporting mom or dad who's being alienated, then the child will reject me as well. So it's so important that they step up and have that conversation. Please do not be the family member that says, I told you so. Or you shouldn't have. I saw that from the beginning. No. Be there to support, because it's a very lonely process. And what happens to the alienated parent is they get rejected by their friends eventually. Not rejected because they're not a good person. Rejected was like, we're tired of your story. We get that. Because you're mourning somebody that's still alive. It never stops. It doesn't get to that point like with a family member that's been lost to something else where you say, okay, I have to get over this. No, because you always remain hopeful.
Yeah. I'm curious, Donnie, as to what the stats are currently looking like. How common are these sort of situations here in South Africa?
So it's difficult to give exact stats, because obviously the cases that go to court, you've got reportable cases and cases that do not get reported. And a lot of children's court cases are not reported. So we roughly look about 1 out of 10 divorces that include children. But now we also know in South Africa a lot of people don't get married anymore.
Yeah.
So we look at roughly, like I said, about 10% of all divorces that involve kids have some form of alienation. And then there's a severe step up post-divorce, because now all of a sudden when you get divorced, there's still this thing of, are we trying to save it, aren't we trying to save it, and they're fighting for custody. But now after, there's no love lost. We've disliked each other for a long time, so it's really a sad reality for quite a lot of children.
Yeah. I might be stepping out of the topic briefly, but very often parents who know that, or a couple that are married who are perhaps having issues and challenges will say, let's just make it work for the sake of the children. I think that's a narrative that many people take because they feel like they're protecting the children. Is that the best way to go about it when your marriage is in need of help?
I would say go and seek for professional help if your marriage is in a rocky place. Because no, unfortunately what you then show your kids is a rocky relationship is there to be fought for. We're currently in 16 days of activism, and I think part of that is that we as children saw our parents being okay with forms of abuse. And because children see that, they kind of allow more than they should. So yes, I agree, no, let's not stick to a relationship just for the kids, because what you're showing the kids is wrong. And secondly, you also take away from them the opportunity to show them what a healthy relationship should look like.
Absolutely. Dani, we've spoken a lot about the parents, but let's focus now on the child in a situation like this. Obviously, if the child is very young, there's not much they can do besides attempt to speak out to another family member to intervene. But an older child, what should they do if they find themselves in this sort of situation? What can they do as kids?
So the problem with the older child is that in the beginning, the one parent will alienate the child from the other parent. When the kids get older, their memories get wiped. So they kind of become a talking base for the alienating parent. So if there's a sibling or there's friends, it's important that they surround themselves with good friends so that when they say, oh, my one parent is all bad, that friend says, whoa, whoa, whoa. A few months ago, you still had fun with that parent. You still had good times with that parent. Because your teenagers actually get so involved in this and their memories get so wiped that they no longer actually are able to think for themselves.
Yeah.
They only speak a narrative that has been given to them. So speak up if possible, but if you are so confused and lost, and surely there must be some part of you that miss the other parents. But that lack of empathy normally shows parental alienation.
Dani, I'm curious, and very briefly, because we've run out of time, you keep mentioning a memory wipe. How does this function, and what is this impact on individuals, actually?
So I'm going to use an example. Just for now, you're going to be my daughter. So one of the rights you've got is a right to a clean home. One of your responsibilities is to participate in cleaning the
Sure.
house. So now I asked you, listen, part of your job for tonight is please wash the dishes. Now you go to the other parent and you say, Dad made me wash dishes. Was he nasty again? Not really. He's forcing you. Maybe. Now it comes back and says, I don't have to wash dishes. Why are you forcing me to wash dishes? And that's never what happened. And that's that memory wipe. So now all of a sudden, but you must wash dishes, and now it's creating something that actually never existed.
Wasn't there. Got you. Dani, it's so fascinating, this conversation. Thank you very much for allowing us to pick your brain and understand this term better. Thank you very much for your time and your insights.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. My absolute pleasure. That was the National Centre for Child Protection's Mr. Dani van Lochrenberg.